What's up everyone? So I thought I'd quickly expand on the video that I put out yesterday on the inevitable replacement of white northern working class people, and I thought I'd create an addendum to that video with something I think's important. At the end I made a bit of a mistake. I said that northern working class people thought that they could vote their way out of this problem, and I left it at that. What I forgot to say was that I don't think there is a way of voting ourselves out of this problem. The system itself doesn't allow for that to happen. The thing is that key northern working class areas flipped and voted for Conservative Party after nearly a century of voting for the working class Labour Party because they felt like the Labour Party was shifting away from their interests. It's plain for us to see now, but the Labour Party has moved clearly away from its working class, socially conservative roots into the more progressive form that we know today, on the party of the evil Dark Lord himself. Instead, we have this progressive, homogenous blob of a party that adapts to fit the metropolitan of today and not the metropolitan of before. Where the white working class were the kings of northern cities, now they're merely the peasant classes out in the rural areas. The thing is as well that unlike in the US where we've seen levels of white flight, and in the south of the UK we've seen white flight out of London, there's not really anywhere that the white working class can run to. The cost and their wages and the price of moving out to those areas makes it virtually impossible for these people to move out of these areas that are being overrun with migrants. And that's why they're being so easily replaced. On top of this, we have to consider the fact that the white working class are blatantly unaware of the problem and are complicit in it too. They have been taught all through their youth this idea of conventional nationalism, a nationalism that has no ethnic character to it, something that can be changed, a civic nationalism. The fact remains that the character of the North is changing substantially due to immigration. The North is no longer dominated by union men organised into workers' communes. Granted, this is a little bit of a leftist idea, but these communes were there to protect the downtrodden from the rich elite. As much as that really did what its intention was is very debatable. But they still did this, and they organised in working men's clubs and hearty pubs across the north. That is not the case anymore. Wetherspoons are hives of degeneracy, places where the working and poverty-stricken go to drink away their worries of the day. Of course, it's come to light as well that many of these people have realised that voting their way out of this problem isn't a possibility, but they'll keep doing it anyway, because it's a force of habit in current English society. What we're left with here is the fact that whilst the metropolitan areas in the north become dominated with the poorer migrant classes, those workers willing to come over and take over the jobs at a much lower wage than their Anglo-Saxon compatriots, the rural working classes and the semi-rural, the suburban working classes, you could say this, but it's not really a term that applies here. They're more like the smaller towns outside the metropolitan areas. These are quickly becoming overrun with the affluent migrant classes in a sort of migrant flight away from the degenerated areas in the cities. It's odd because you begin to see areas like my own town, known for its rather poor estate working class areas. These have become populated with the gentrified middle class migrants, those who come across with significant investment funds to buy property. Unusual as well is the mass investment in the property market by these migrants, who overtake any cheap property prices and inflate them high so that the locals cannot buy the houses anymore and are put on either permanent rent or council houses. The working classes in the north have become so deracinated. No longer these respectable people who go into quite a low-class job in industry. No. These people either work in soulless production jobs, soulless service jobs, or soulless office jobs, where their mind-numbing job releases them of any desire to do anything about their surroundings, and releases them of any motivation to make any change in the world. Instead, they just want to go home and watch Netflix on the telly, or indulge overly in the pub. Instead of being a highly politically motivated and organised class, the working classes have instead become a deracinated population known for being a vote farm for whoever claims to clamp down on crime or immigration the most. And while the Tories have duped them for now, I could easily move to Labour if they make a basic commitment to change the current status of play. Frankly, it remains now that the northern working class are the most bugman class of all throughout the United Kingdom. They're the most consumer class, most reliant upon the system, those with little savings and no property. They're propped up by the state completely and reliant on its payouts for their goods. Their daily enjoyments and reasons for life are shelled out by the major corporations through their slavish wages, or even doled out by the government itself, and therefore they're the most entangled in the system too. Let's not forget as well that the working class themselves are most vulnerable to the old bread and games trick played upon them by the higher powers. Those enamoured by football or the latest sports on television are easily shoved aside by the political classes and forgotten about. This is the class that's most vulnerable to the crime wave brought by immigration, the drug waves brought by immigration, the rape scandals brought by immigration. And despite the fact that the working class has come to realise this in the last decade, they do very little about it. They hope to vote away the problem. They don't grow, they don't organise, they don't have children. They merely mull away in their own homes, totally atomised, even on a family level. And this is the circumstance that the North finds itself in now, and it's a circumstance that makes them easily replaced. Hopefully that will not come about. I pray to the Lord that my people retain their place in the world and find their character once more. But whether that will happen, only time will tell. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one. 再见.